What's up, Alphas? We are here with Hanna from Distant Planet. I'm so glad that she told me how to pronounce her name because I've been calling her Hanna for probably a year now, and I'm glad to know that that's not correct. So I feel really silly, but I feel really excited because her branding of all of the shops in HAA is some of my favorite.
I love it.
Yeah, last night, had you seen her shop before? Was this the first time that you've actually...
Yeah, it was the first time I had actually seen it.
Yeah, I showed him your shop, and he's like, I love it. It's like the void.
Yeah, the void posting pages. I love it.
He loved it. Because you know him, he's like the Black Craft cult boy, and he started seeing your work, and he's just like, oh. So, and your banner is so crisp. Like, I've got that giant double wide monitor, and the snake just covers my whole monitor, like all the way across. It's perfect. So what is your business and what do you sell for those who aren't familiar with you?
Well, my business is Distant Planet, and I do a combination of print-on-demand t-shirts. So that's a whole thing that maybe is worth talking about. Yeah. And then I also ship out of my house too. And so the stuff that I ship out of my house is mostly like bandanas, or you can see behind me on the door, I have my patches and my prints.
Oh, cool.
I sell loads of stickers because I have a higher profit margin when I just ship them myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would say about 20 to 30% of my sales are coming out of my house, and then the rest are coming from print on demand. But I'm an illustrator, so it's just all of my work on clothes.
That's perfect. And I think that sets you apart as well, because we have a lot of Etsy sellers in the community who do print on demand, but this is your work. Like, you are print on demand. You do kind of like what Amber Marie does, where it's your work that's being printed on the items, which makes it completely original and super duper neat. And I think that that's what makes your brand stand out so much. So I have a ton of questions, but based on what you've said so far, I think something that the audience would be interested in hearing more about is that divide between print on demand and shipping from home, because so many people want to do that, but then they're afraid or they don't know how to take that leap. What makes you decide, like, this is what I'm going to ship from home. This is the thing that I don't want to deal with, and we're going to have a printing company take care of this?
I think it has a lot to do with inventory. I have like 250 items probably in my shop, and I would need to have a warehouse to have all of the items and all of the sizes. And I think when it comes to things being in different sizes, that's like a no-brainer for me. That's going to be print on demand and it's also going to save me money in the long term, because a lot of the stuff that I have in my shop, I can have more flexibility with when I launch it, because I can see, oh, this is selling. And if it doesn't sell, the only money I'm losing is the money that I spent on the shirt to take the model photos. And so I actually feel like I have a lot of flexibility in being able to experiment with different designs, because I'm not like losing a bunch of money, getting a lot of stock in order, and I don't know how to screen print. And so I'm saving a lot of time because I'm paying someone else to do it for me. It's a whole topic, but that'll be my response.
Yeah. I think that it also allows for a lot better sizing diversity as well, because, you know, if you were printing everything yourself and you also had to hold the inventory, then most brands hold like small, medium, large, and you don't get a lot of sizing diversity there.
Yeah, not a lot of diversity, not a lot of variety.
Yeah. So
I get a lot of messages for people saying they're happy that I have all these different sizes. So
yeah, because a lot of companies can't offer that. They don't have the ability to hold that much stock, and it's not that they, you know, don't want to be able to offer a good variety. It's just there are limitations there, which is where print on demand is a great solution for any business who has a really, really great design that they want to sell, but they just don't have the ability to actually hold that stock. So when did you join HAA? I can never remember when everybody joined, but
December 2020.
Okay. And what made you actually decide to take that leap?
Well, so 2020 was a situation.
Yeah, I think it was in the news, wasn't it? Was
I think it was.
I think something happened in 2020, and so, but so I had a landscaping business for like 6 years. This is like I'll be brief with your story. And it was during the pandemic. It was one of my landscaping years, and I have a lot of immunocompromised people in my life, and I actually have an autoimmune disease. And I was like, I don't want to work with the general public this winter. I was like, no, thank you.
That is understandable.
And historically, I had worked actually as a florist in the winter, and there were lots of people, and I was like, no. And so I was determined to work for myself all winter. I like decided. And I went on to YouTube University, as I call it. And I was like, how can I make money selling my art online this winter? And I just did like a constellation of ideas. And then I kind of narrowed it down. And I was like, I'm either going to do a sticker shop or I'm going to do print on demand shirts. And then I started with the print on demand shirts. And this was before I found you. And I launched my shirts through my meme page, which is my primary social media advertising.
That's amazing.
Situation.
Love it. We're on tons of meme pages, and I always say that it's a great place for people to market. And I never see like 2 people.
It's a no-brainer. Okay, anyway, so that happened. And then I was like, oh, okay, well then how the does Etsy work? Because I knew that Printful is automated with Etsy. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. And then I was like, but I don't know how Etsy works. And then I just started looking up, okay, how do I make Etsy work for me? And I found you, and I literally watched every video on your YouTube.
That's a lot of videos.
And then I was like, I have to, when HAA happened, I was like, this is obvious. But it was the first time I had ever really invested money in my business growth, actually, even with my landscaping business. So that was like a really big step for me, I think.
Was it like terrifying? You're allowed to say yes.
I knew it was going to work. No. I was excited.
Oh.
I remember like, I didn't realize that like the enrollment was going to go on for like a week. And I had like an alarm, and I woke up at like 8:00 in the morning and made the payment immediately. Because I was like, what if there's not enough space?
Don't worry. That's not even like the worst case scenario for someone like wanting to jump on it. Because Amber Marie, you know Amber, we work with her all the time.
Everybody knows Amber.
She was actually, we found out when she came to the States, she was our very first student. And she was the first person to actually pay. And she was enrolled like less than a minute.
It was like
after it opened the first time. She just jumped on it and bought it.
Yeah, we had no testimonials or anything. Amber was just
obviously you were pretty stoked to get in on it and start working on the material, and you were actually interested in your growth. So as somebody who like wasn't very apprehensive about getting it, what would you tell someone who maybe is apprehensive about joining? Because you went into it with a positive attitude, but a lot of people go into it afraid that they're getting ready to make this huge investment and that they're wasting their money, because we've all bought into things that have just been a huge waste of money. So
especially courses. Courses are stingy now.
I'm a member of a bunch of courses, and most of them suck. So what would be something that you would tell somebody that's maybe apprehensive about joining?
I would say that so first of all, the launch formula is worth $1,000.
Oh,
awesome!
It's getting better too.
Yeah,
I'm
with
sure.
The re-record, we're like refining it even more and making it better for the big re-record.
Yeah, and so I would say that if somebody has good ideas, that's something you have to have good ideas. You're not guaranteed here, but like if you follow the launch formula and really like take it seriously and do like all of the stuff that y'all say, you will at least make the money back.
Yeah.
I really feel like I have a friend. So I have a friend who I actually just like told her some like really basic stuff with like your method. I didn't like go into the whole thing.
No, that's fine.
And she did a launch with 0 followers on social media and made like $500 or something.
That's awesome.
And you like,
when did your shop actually open? Because I had it in my head that you had been open way longer because you've got so many sales. How many sales have you made in that tiny window?
Almost 4,000 since
2020?
Yeah.
That is
good God. That's a good segue for one of the overtime questions, because not a lot of shops will do both the print on demand and an in-person shop, in particular stickers and shirts. I see some people doing a mix, but it's not as common as one or the other. So with that, what's like an average work day for you? Because I mean, there's obviously print on demand doesn't take as much of the time, but it's still customer service. It's still having to organize and do the pictures, and it sounds like you do the majority of the pictures yourself.
Yeah.
So how does an average work day look for you?
Right now, an average work day for me is the first thing I do in the morning is I just ship anything that needs to get shipped during the week. I don't work on the weekends. And that maybe takes me an hour. And then I'll also send my swipe files.
Links down below, guys. Links down below.
Got to do it. And with the Printful thing too, I'll go in and make sure that nothing funky is happening. Because when you have items that are out of sync with Printful, so for instance, when someone makes an order and it's stickers and a sweater or something, sometimes it'll not sync on Printful if it's a new sticker. And so I have to tell Printful that this item, you should ignore it, or else they won't process the item. And so this is probably good information for people who want to do both, because I got into a situation one time where I added a bunch of new stickers and I forgot to tell Printful about these new items. And then I had to update the ship by date on Etsy for all these orders because they weren't even being processed yet. And so that's a learning experience. But anywho, so I'll go on Printful in the morning and make sure everything's square. And then if I have a launch planning, which I actually keep pushing back this year because I'm also very busy with another business that I started, I'll usually spend about a month before launch just designing everything. And then I always make sure that I have all of the shirts ordered that I'm going to take photos of arriving to my house 2 weeks before launch. And then I spend those 2 weeks taking the photos, doing all the research on eRank, all that sort of stuff. So launch time is that's the only thing I'm focusing on. And then otherwise, I feel like I have my store set up in such a way that it works for itself. And that's the goal, awesome. Right?
Absolutely. And not having to work on weekends. Like I'm not one to talk right now, but
yeah,
I did that
because I am just an absolutely don't ask me to do anything on the weekends kind of person. And she's supposed to be doing that, but
not during the HIA re-record.
Her hobby is work. So it's hard to get her to not
it's either
I have to force myself. So I get it. I force myself.
Yeah. We were just talking about that meme that's been going around that says if you don't choose a day to take a break, your body will choose for you.
It's so true.
And that was me 2 days ago, or no, it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was yesterday.
She went hard and then went hard all weekend, and then yesterday she was just nap all day.
I slept all day. I was on the couch all day.
So obviously you run your you run your businesses now, and you've had businesses in the past, it sounds like, and whatever you're doing, you said you just recently started something newer. So you've got quite a bit of experience. It sounds like a little bit all over the place. So as someone who's been running a business, and it sounds like your current business is doing pretty well for you, if you had to go through and had a chance to do it all over again, what would you actually change about what you did?
Like my whole story, or just with Etsy?
Either or.
Yeah.
As a business owner, if you just start at the beginning of where you started business, because I mean, let's do Etsy, because I'm sure running a landscaping business is more of a local thing and is way different than running an Etsy shop. But
I'm beginning to realize how valuable it is to have real mentoring with people. And having and so this isn't exactly what you guys are able to offer. But if I could look back, even on my landscaping business, if I had somebody who could have mentored me with making financial decisions, not trying to do everything myself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Not trying to figure everything else out myself. And because it's a twofold issue, because it's an ego trip to think that you can do it all on your own.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you save so much time just paying someone to give you the information you need to thrive. So, and that's the other thing with business is you have to change the way you interact with money to understand you have to spend a little bit of money to make money. You gotta. There's no getting around it. There's literally no getting around it. And so I think that I've had thoughts to myself where I've been like, I'd give you guys $3,000 for this course. Because I see how valuable it is to have somebody giving me a framework that I can grow into and make adjustments to. You know, it's not dogma. I'm like, this is an incredible framework for me to build into and adjust to and adapt to and all these things that I would have never been able to figure out on my own, ever.
And I do agree. I think that's a pitfall that a lot of business owners will fall into when they get their first little initial bit of success. They'll kind of run with that. And that's another thing that we talk about with scalability. You get to a point where you literally can't do things on your own anymore, but you want to, because some businesses, maybe they've been running for 3 or 4 or 5 years doing everything.
You could turn into a control freak.
Right. And then they hit this bit of success and they have trouble keeping up with it. And then they just end up crashing and burning instead of investing in the things that they need to invest in. And they say, well, I don't really want to spend 10 grand hiring this person to do this work that I need done. I'll just do it myself. And then it ends up either not being done right, or they waste a bunch of money, or there's an economic crisis or a war. like things happen. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. You got to invest money to make money.
And a lot of people, they say, oh, I don't have the money to buy premium courses, but it doesn't need to be that either. Like when you talk about mentors, like some of my greatest mentors were books that I got from the library in the early days before I could afford courses. And then it was YouTube videos. And then it was webinars back when webinars actually had content and they weren't just sales pitches. Which
I'm in a couple of Discords for some guitar players that I like that just talk to people. Like
you can find resources everywhere. And then hopefully those resources, and what we try to do with the alphas is help them enough that they are able to generate enough money that if they decide that they want to have the freedom to invest it into a premium course, whether it be ours or somebody else's, then they have that flexibility to do so. But it is a buildup. Did you find yourself in that position though, where like at the beginning, even if it was just through the landscaping business, when you were trying to learn that business foundation, like it's like being a sponge, right? Like you said, you watched all of the YouTube videos
you gotta
first.
soak it all up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always been like that. I think I've always had like an edge of just wanting to learn everything on my own. But I don't think it's sustainable. So that's kind of like what I was trying to, I think it can be a really powerful quality to have as an individual to want to be a sponge, right? And just like get all the information. But knowledge without clear implementation causes a lot of overwhelm. And so I feel like you guys offer ways to actually implement all of this information that I kind of would have just had just swirling around in my head. And I'd be like, well, there's this one thing I should do, but there's like a framework. These are the steps that you take.
Yeah.
Right. That's valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. You end up going down this road where you end up with a lot of different information. And once you have that stockpile of information, you don't know where to actually start to like implement this thing, or what do I need to pull out and do next? That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So you've got, go ahead.
Okay. There's one more thing I would have said to myself in the past. I would have taken out more small business loans, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I am in a situation now where I'm doing actually another group coaching program for a different business now. But I would have never even wrapped my head around doing something like this had I not first invested in this, if I'm being totally honest. Where it would actually, I can see how if I took out a small business loan and then paid it off over the course of 1 or 2 years, that investment wouldn't have been actually as scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
But I know that you guys are like, don't invest in HIA if it's like going to be a serious financial strain on you.
Yeah.
But if you actually do have the money to do it, but you don't want to pay $1,000 up front, you could just get $1,000 small business loan and then pay that off over the course of a year or two. And that's actually not much money.
Yeah,
no,
we also
it's
offer.
Really not. That's usually what I'll tell people, because the 6-month payment plan, obviously they're paying $200 more. It's a convenience fee. It's normal. Most courses do something like that. And I tell people, if you can't afford it right off the bat and you don't want to get a loan, that kind of thing. We usually ask people not to get credit cards, but people do what they want to do. that if you were to just save what you would save for the monthly payment, you'll end up after the 6 months, if you didn't have to use the money that you were putting aside, then you can buy the course with it, save yourself a couple $100, not have to worry about the stress of having to make up a payment. And we're confident in the course material. The majority of the people do something.
You're proof of that.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's just kind of what we were going over in the beginning with having the information, not knowing what to do with it. We don't guarantee success with the course, obviously. It's all about what you do with the information and how you can interpret the information and use it for yourself. Because we have thousands of industries on Etsy. They're all different. So the material has to be fitting enough into everything that people can take it, run with that, and actually be able to put it into their own words.
That's like we've got your brand, and then on the flip side, we've got sweet like little grandmas who make Bible covers. There's it gets so diverse with what you can do with that foundation. And it sounds like you've taken some of the things that you've learned from HAA and been able to apply them to other things as well. Because I mean, business foundation is business foundation.
And we get that a lot. We have another person that ended up getting into DoD contracting and quit Etsy entirely and used what he learned in HAA to start his own DoD contracting company.
I'm doing the same thing with my other business. And it's like you with the book that you're writing, right? Mm-hmm. You're using the same formula to launch your book.
Exact same formula, because it is not just built on that, like the quick fixes that business gurus all teach and the magic success button. When you're going through the process of appealing to psychological triggers that are proven through science, I mean, there's no way to fail in something that is proven to work. You just have to make sure that you're doing it in a way that is visually and aesthetically appealing.
The failure is more of a lack of effort than it is an understanding.
Right. And your brand is so cohesive and it makes sense. And it's one of those brands that if someone didn't understand your branding or didn't understand your industry, they would look at it and it wouldn't, they wouldn't connect. But that's not you're not a brand for everybody. We look at your brand and we know exactly who it's for because we fall into that demographic. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We see it and we know exactly what it is. And I did not know that you marketed through a meme page. Like,
we'll have to get those details afterwards for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You can join one of the thousands of meme pages I look at.
Oh my God, his are spicy. His are so spicy. The spicies, the spicies are his favorite. All right. So I think that we're actually towards the end, but is there anything that you wanted to share with the alphas? Just any little inspirations or tidbits or things that you think that they would find valuable before we sign off?
I love the purple cow analogy.
Oh, I love the purple cow.
The purple cow, I feel like really did something for me, especially because I'm in a really saturated market.
Yeah.
And so I'll give my example. So especially with print on demand stuff, which I think Etsy could have more restrictions around, honestly. Mm-hmm. But especially with t-shirt print on demand on Etsy, I was like, how can I be a purple cow here? And what I did, and I started to do, this isn't for all of my listings, it would take me forever to redo everything. But with all of my new launches, I do flat lays that I take myself.
And you can tell that they're not flat lays.
Doing that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I set myself apart in my particular niche or my particular industry is I make my product look like a real item. Whereas all of the other t-shirts that are print on demand on Etsy just look like mock-ups. Like, I think that should be illegal. Like,
yeah. And you model them too. So they see you in the shop owner photo. They see you in the shop owner section.
Yep.
They see you in your modeled photos wearing the clothing. And also, Guy husband? Is Guy friend? Who's Guy in photos?
Oh, that's my partner.
Okay. I was like, guy with beard from photos. You can just tell him we said that, guy with beard. Guy with beard. But it makes it feel just so much more trustworthy and authentic. And, even if someone can't do everything, like I know that newbies, it does get expensive buying samples. That's what Amber Marie and I do for Alpha Adapt, which, we use Alpha Adapt to test SEO experiments and do silly things.
But that's also a business expense.
Exactly. So. But we have to buy, you know, our merch ourselves to take those photos. And after a while, it does get expensive when you first start out. But what I was going to say is, even if you can just do some of your photos, like when you're first starting out, like don't run your shop just with your mock-ups. Like, get a couple to own. Do a couple photos of yourself wearing them, even if you can't afford to do it all at first. And it makes such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then also on Printful, if people aren't taking advantage of the perks that they do, where you can get like a free shirt, or like you get like $10 off an order, like all that kind of stuff, like that's like you should do that.
20% off of a sample of 3 once a month.
Oh my God, I only order the stuff as samples. So that's like a huge discount. And then also I'll say that I end up with all of these shirts, right, that I just have at my house. And so in the winter, during the holidays, I do markets like in person, and those shirts sell like hotcakes.
Because you only got a couple.
Back.
That's perfect. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many things you can do with them. You can do giveaways. There's
totally.
so much that you can do. Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. All shop links and whatever links you send me will be down below, so you guys can go explore Distant Planet. And thanks so much for watching.